Hook 015s. Somebody right now is sitting in a $3,000 a month apartment, driving a leased car they can barely afford, staring at a bank account that should feel like success, and wondering why they feel more anxious than they did when they were broke. They make more money than their parents ever did, and they feel worse. Tension, 15 to 60s. There's a post that went quietly viral recently. A person on a finance forum wrote something that stopped people mid-scroll. They said, "I make $250,000 a year and I feel broke. 4 years ago, I made $120,000 and I was happier." Over 1,000 people responded, and almost none of them were surprised. Because somewhere along the way, a massive number of people figured out the dirty secret that nobody in a suit on a stage ever tells you. The secret that the entire architecture of modern ambition is built to hide. More money doesn't fix it. Not because money doesn't matter, it does. But because the thing that's broken isn't your income. Body. Let's go back to the beginning of your working life. Or maybe someone you know. You start out making not much. Maybe you're in your mid-20s. You're splitting rent, eating cheap, driving something that makes a sound it probably shouldn't. Life feels tight, but it also feels manageable. You know exactly what you have. You know exactly what you can't afford. There's a clarity to scarcity that nobody talks about. Then you get a raise, and something shifts, not just in your account, in your psychology. Because the moment your income goes up, your brain doesn't say, "Great, I'm secure now." Your brain says, "Okay, what's next?" This is called the hedonic treadmill, and it is relentless. Psychologists have studied this for decades. The core finding is brutal in its simplicity. Humans adapt to improved circumstances faster than we expect. The raise that was supposed to change everything stops feeling like anything within about 3 months. 3 months. And here's where it gets darker. Because it's not just that the good feeling fades. It's that your spending quietly rises to meet your new income almost automatically. You don't decide to upgrade your life. It just happens. Better apartment, nicer car, different restaurants, a gym membership you actually use for a while, clothes that cost more because you tell yourself you can afford them now. Economists call this lifestyle inflation, and it's not a character flaw. It's a feature of how human cognition works under capitalism. But here's the thing, nobody models out for you when you're 23 and chasing that first big number. Lifestyle inflation doesn't just eat your raise, it raises the floor of what you now need to feel okay. You can't go back. The apartment you used to live in would now feel like a punishment. The car you used to drive would feel like a step backward. You've redefined your baseline. And that redefinition costs money you don't have yet. So you work harder to get there. And then you get there. And the floor rises again. This is the trap, not a metaphor. An actual psychological loop that the structure of modern work and modern consumption has engineered around you. Now let's talk about why this hits differently right now, in 2026. Because there's a specific cruelty to this moment in history. In past generations, lifestyle inflation was at least somewhat socially anchored. You compared yourself to your neighbors, your block, your cousin. The upgrade cycle moved at a human pace. Now, you're comparing yourself to a curated global feed of the wealthiest, most image-conscious, most aspirational people on Earth, every single day, multiple times a day. The reference point for normal has been catastrophically distorted. Someone making $90,000 in Omaha is scrolling content designed for someone making $900,000 in Manhattan. And their brain can't tell the difference. It just registers, "I don't have that. I'm behind." This is what psychologists call social comparison theory, operating at a scale it was never meant to handle. Our brains evolved to benchmark against maybe 150 people in our immediate community. We are now benchmarking against millions, and the algorithm specifically surfaces the most aspirational content because that content generates the most engagement. You're not imagining that the bar keeps moving. The bar is being actively moved by design. But wait, because there's another layer here, and this one cuts even deeper. Let's talk about identity. When your income rises significantly, something subtle but profound happens to how you see yourself. You start to become, at least in your own mind, someone who earns at that level. Your income becomes part of your identity. And identity is the most expensive thing you will ever maintain. Because now you're not just spending money to live, you're spending money to signal to yourself and others who you are. The brand you wear, the neighborhood you live in, the places you eat, the trips you post. These aren't just purchases, they're identity maintenance. And here's the psychological trap inside the trap. The higher your income, the higher the social stakes of your identity signaling. You're now around people who earn what you earn, and that peer group has a completely different definition of normal spending. So the person making $250,000 isn't comparing themselves to who they were at $120,000. They're comparing themselves to colleagues and peers who also make $250,000. Except some of those colleagues have family money, or a partner who earns as much, or they're just quietly drowning in debt and you don't know it. You're competing in a game where the goalposts are invisible and the scoreboard is fake. Climax. Here is the central thing, the thing that changes how you see all of this. The feeling of being broke at $250,000 is not irrational. It's not weakness. It's not a budgeting problem. It is the entirely predictable result of a system that profits from the gap between what you earn and what you believe you need. Every industry from housing to fashion to automotive to food has a vested financial interest in making sure that your current level of earning never feels like enough. The entire engine of consumer capitalism runs on manufactured insufficiency. And the cruelest part? The solution they sell you is to earn more. More ambition, more hustle, more sacrifice, more years of your life, so you can afford the next level of the life you already can't afford. The treadmill doesn't stop, it speeds up. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a number. A number that, once you hit it, will finally feel like enough. Research on income and emotional well-being is complicated and contested. But one thing that emerges consistently is this. The number in your head is always higher than where you are now. Always. Because the number isn't real. It was never the number. It was always the feeling. And the feeling has been systematically separated from the earning. Ending. There's a quieter version of success that almost no one photographs. It looks like knowing what's actually enough for you, not for your feed, not for your peers, not for the version of yourself you invented at 22 when you decided what making it looked like. The people who escape this trap aren't the ones who finally hit the magic number. They're the ones who stopped letting the system define the number in the first place. That's not a financial strategy, it's a psychological one. And it might be the most valuable thing you never learned at work. Share this with someone who just got a raise and already feels like it's not enough. Because they need to hear this more than they need another budget spreadsheet.